Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Tank B Choppin', and I'm back with another haircut tutorial. Alright, so jumping straight into this haircut, guys. As y'all can see, he's got some curly hair on top, but what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be trimming this this length down on top, just a little bit, you know, maybe about 1/4 of an inch or so. We're just really just cutting the ends. He likes this length. Well, he likes it a little shorter than this length, so I always trim it, you know, once every 2-3 weeks. And yeah, that's what we're gonna do on top, and then what we're gonna be doing on the sides is a mid drop fade. So basically on the sides it's gonna be like a mid fade, and then in the back we're gonna drop it below the occipital bone, and in the back is basically gonna look like a low fade. Alright, so as y'all can see, guys, I got the top all fully saturated. I'm taking my Hanzos, and I'm just cutting the top. I'm starting off by setting a first initial guideline, and as y'all can see, well, y'all probably can't see, my angles on, you know, doing shear work ain't the best, but basically what I'm doing is I'm just moving forward. So I'm picking up a little bit, you know, I'm picking up a section of hair, and then I'm trimming it down however much I want, and then I'm following that guideline all the way forward. So he has a shorter strands of hair in the middle right now, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use that middle section that I created right now. I'm gonna use that as a guideline for the rest of the head. So as y'all can see, I'm creating sections, and I'm bringing up a little bit of that middle section that I previously created, and then everything that's longer than that, I'm basically just cutting off to make this whole haircut even on top. And I'm basically gonna do this all the way around the top, you know. So that's basically what we're doing here, and yeah, that's what we're doing. And I do want to apologize for not putting out as many tutorials as I have in previous weeks. It's just, man, this past week was a rough week. You know, my son was sick on Monday, so I stayed home from work Monday and Tuesday. So yeah, I was basically booked every day for this past week. You know, I had no breaks available, so I really didn't have too much time to create any content. However, I did get this one in, so yeah. Alright, guys, so now what we're doing is we're going in with our trimmers, and we're just gonna set in our initial bald guideline. So since we are doing a mid drop fade, I'm gonna do the front part of this haircut, or the sides, like a mid fade, and I am keeping it, you know, as you can see, I'm keeping that C cup a little dark because we are gonna create that ghost line. And once I get behind that ear, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start to drop this fade. That way it looks more, you know, more of like a low fade in the back, and that's basically how I do my mid drop fades. And then we just gonna do the same thing on the opposite side, and then we're just gonna tie it in together in the back. And that's just how I do it. You can go all the way around the head, but I just like to set my guidelines on the side first, and then just connect them in the back together. Alright, so now that is done, I am taking my shaver by Gamma. This is the Prodigy, and I'm just, you know, razoring the sides out. And I'm coming up right below what I did with that trimmer. Basically, as soon as, you know, right before I get to that line, I start flicking out and relieving some of that pressure. That way it doesn't make a harsh bald guideline all the way up to that line, because if I do that, it's gonna be a lot harder to get that bottom line out. Alright, guys, so what we doing now is we gonna basically debulk this side of the haircut. I know most of the time I debulk the whole, you know, the whole head, but I'm just gonna do each section at a time. So I'm starting off with my number 4 guard on my ergos, and as y'all can see, I'm coming right to, you know, the parietal ridge area, and then in the back I'm dropping it down also. Basically, I'm following the same shape I created with my bald guideline, and I'm just following that all the way around the head, or at least on this side of the head. So as you can see, right when I get to about that ridge area, I start to flick and float out, and then once I start getting to about that crown area, I drop it in the back. Now I'm going in with my ergos, no guard on, my lever is all the way open, and I'm setting in my next guideline. So I'm gonna be coming up about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch, and I am using a slight flick out motion. And the reason for that is just so I don't create too harsh of a line. I know some people like to create harsh lines and they use no flick out motion at all, and that's perfectly fine. You just gotta do what's, you know, what's better for you and what's easier for you. Alright, so I did do some fade down technique. I didn't talk about it, but y'all know how I do, guys. I create my section with the lever open, and then I close my lever halfway, and then I close it all the way at that, that bottom panel. And now I'm creating another section with my lever open with my number 1 guard, which makes this a 1.5. And as y'all can see, I'm following that same shape, dropping it down on the back, going over it a couple times, being nice and consistent, and then I'm gonna close my lever and attack that bottom line. Oh, you know what? I'm lying. I messed up, guys. So I didn't close my lever at all. I'm just doing lever open. So I set my first initial guideline with my lever open. I came up a section, and then I put that 1 guard with my lever open, came up a section, and now I'm using my 1.5 guard all the way open, coming up another section. I forgot that I did this haircut a little different, and then I did the opposite side differently. Yeah, basically that's what's going on. So that's my bad. So now I'm going in with my number 3 guard. The lever is open, and I'm gonna do some down fading technique. So basically, guys, what like I was saying is my first guideline, I started just with my lever open. I did not fade it out. I put my 1 guard lever open, came up another section. I did not fade it out, and then I put my 1.5 guard on there, came up another section, and did not fade that out. So there's basically, as you can see, there's 3 guidelines in there, and now I'm going in with my number 3 guard. My lever is closed now, and I'm just attacking that ridge area. And it's just taking away some of that dark area, and it's basically making this line a little lighter. And now I'm going in with my number 2 guard. I can't tell if my lever is open or closed, but I am floating and flicking. As you can see, it's getting rid of that line, and it's making the fade on that part of the haircut come together a little better. Obviously those bottom lines are still there, but I'm going to attack those in a minute. And I just decided to do this way, guys, because I wanted to give you all different way to do it instead of always doing the same way. So now I'm just cleaning this up with my lever open, and then now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start to adjust my lever closed, use some corner blending. Basically, I'm doing some kind of like some detail work while I'm still trying to get out these lines. So right now the lever is still open, and then I'm just gonna be adjusting that lever, doing some lever play to get out these lines. So now my lever is all the way closed, and now I'm attacking that bottom, well, not the bottom line, but that middle line that's there. And this, for the most part, should take it out, or it's gonna lighten it up a lot. And then what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to go in with my 0 guard or my 1/16, whatever you want to call it, and do some cleanup work for that line that y'all see right there at the bottom. And then, well, not the bottom, but that middle line still. I hope y'all understand what I'm saying. I know it's a little more difficult to follow along, but that's just because I wanted to be a little different on this tutorial. But for the most part, I hope y'all understand what I'm saying. So now I got my 1/16 guard. I started with my lever halfway open, attacking that middle line, and then as y'all can see, I'm adjusting my lever closed, and I'm just gonna do a lot of lever play basically just to try to get that line out. And if this, for whatever reason, does not get that line completely out, I'm gonna have to go in with just my lever open, no guard on the clipper, and basically just attack that line. And for the most part, this is getting that, taking away them dark areas, getting that line out. Now, I did do a lot of work with this 1/16 guard, and it has a lot to do with the way that I attack this haircut, but it also has a lot to do with basically the angle that I had the camera. I was trying not to get in the way of the camera. I did set up a different angle this time. So, I was just testing it out, so I was trying not to get in the way. So, with me trying not to get in the way, I was holding the clipper weird, and I don't know. If you record YouTube videos, I know y'all know what I'm talking about. All right, so now what I'm doing, guys, I'm gonna take this, I have no, blah, 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 blah. Let me start that over. All right, so now what I'm doing, guys, I'm going in with no guard on the clipper, and I'm just adjusting that lever closed, trying to get that bottom line out. I don't know why I thought there was no guard on the previous clip, but there's no guard on this clip, and I'm going in, just adjusting that lever, doing some corner blending. Basically just trying to take this bottom line completely out. And for the most part, it should, because these clippers are, I zero gapped them. But if it doesn't, I can always go back in with one of my trimmers and clean up that bottom line some more. However, there is some dark areas that I see in this fade that I'm gonna have to attack with my number 1 guard, my 1/16, and possibly some bigger guards on top. Or I can use some my blending shears to get out, a little bit more of that bulk on top. So now I'm going in with my number 1 guard, basically cleaning it up, doing some detail work. And even though this is a different method to fading, I'm basically doing the same exact things. My steps are just a little different. So normally what I do is I set it in a panel and then I fade it out and then I go to my next guard. But what I did this time was I just set in a lot of guidelines and then I faded down to get those lines out and then did some detailing. But as y'all can see here, that fade, it's coming together a little better. Now I'm getting rid of some of that bulk on the ridge area, basically tying this into the top. And what I'm doing is I'm using my blending shears and I'm using that shear over comb technique. And all I'm doing is I'm combing some hair up and I'm just attacking the ends. I don't want to go too far in with the blending shears because it's gonna make it look too choppy. That way, so that's the reason why I'm just attacking the ends. And what I do is I give a couple snips and then I comb the hair the direction he's gonna comb it or the way it's gonna lay, and it basically gives me a better visual of what's going on. Now I'm going in with my absolute hitters and I'm just lining them up in front. I started off with a line in the middle of his head, and then I just moved my way over, hit that vertical bar, and then I'm gonna hit that C cup. And see, since he does have some curls, it makes it a little harder to edge up the front. However, we still got it done. Sometimes you have to use some spritz or some hairspray, and that's what I did. I did apply some hairspray, combed it down. That way it basically laid in the position it needed to lay in for the most part. Alright, so now we're going on to the other side. I did speed this up, but I'm still gonna walk y'all through it because it is different from what we did on the left side. So I started with my clipper all the way open, adjusted my lever halfway, came in right below that, and then I'm gonna close my lever notch by notch and attack that bottom line. So this technique right here is more what I normally use. I just decided to switch it up for the tutorial for y'all. Now I'm going in with my one guard all the way open, coming up another section, and then I'm gonna fade that section out. So I'm starting off with the lever all the way open, and then I'm gonna adjust that lever closed and attack that bottom line. And I know this might not 100% get rid of that line, and that's cool. I can always come back later or whenever I'm needed with that 1/16 guard to get out that bottom line.
Damn it, Tito. Another one?
Next step is I'm going in with my 1.5 guard. Lever is open, creating another section, and then I'm fading it down. And now that is done, I'm taking my number 4 guard. And I should have done this on this side at the beginning before I actually started fading, but for whatever reason I didn't. But I'm basically just debulking the top of this area. Basically, this is the longest guard that I use to tie this into the top. And if I need to tie it in with anything longer than this, I normally use shear over comb, clipper over comb, or blending shear over comb. Now here is my 3 guard. I did not have the lever open. I started off with it closed. Started attacking that line, and now I'm going in with my number 2 guard. Same thing, just attacking them dark areas that y'all see right there. Trying not to go up as high as I did with that 3. Now this is my 1.5 guard. Same thing, doing some cleanup work now, because now technically all my steps are done. So I'm just going back in and cleaning everything up, basically just retracing my steps, doing some small detail work, getting rid of some dark areas, just getting rid of some of these dark spots that I can see in this fade. Now I'm taking out that bottom line with that 1/16. Well, it ain't technically the bottom line, but y'all know what I mean. I'm using my 1/16 guard or my half guard. I started with my lever halfway open, and then I closed it notch by notch, and then I just adjusted that lever as needed to get rid of them dark areas. And then a lot of times, guys, I have to go back and basically use my number 1 guard. Sometimes I'm switching a lot between that 1.5, that number 1, and that 1/16, just because I want to give a good blend. So yeah, now I'm going back to my 1/16 guard. But y'all know, as barbers, guys, sometimes we got to do that. We just got to make sure these haircuts come out, make sure they looking good and make sure they look flawless. Now we lining up the opposite side of his hairline, and as you can see, I started off in the middle, and I just basically just started off where the lineup ended, and I just followed that line all the way over. And I'm telling y'all, guys, when people have curly hair and you gotta line them up in front, sometimes it's a little harder. So sometimes it's best to put some hairspray or some spritz or some product in their hair to help it lay there. That way when you attack it, it doesn't tend to curl up. Now I'm going back to this side of the haircut, and what I'm doing is I'm just doing some more detail work, and I'm using that blending shear over comb technique to get rid of these dark spots and this bulk on the top of this haircut, or basically where the fade meets the top of the haircut. Alright guys, so now what I'm doing is I'm just fading in the back. Basically I'm attacking this like it's a low fade, But I'm doing the same steps that I did on the right side of this haircut. Started with my clipper open, faded that out, put my number 1 guard on there, faded that out. Now I'm at that 1.5 guard, faded that out, and now I'm doing my number 4 guard. I'm gonna fade down and do some detail work. But what I am gonna do also is I'm gonna be quiet for a little bit and just let y'all watch and follow along. Alright guys, so now what we're doing is we're doing that razor work. Basically, we just going over everything we did with them trimmers and them liners. We just making these lines look super sharp, hitting them with them razors, stretching that skin tight. That way it lessens the chance of nicking the client. Alright guys, so this is how my boy came into the shop looking. As you can see, it's been about a week and a half. He said, hey Tank, hook me up with my norm. I said, say less fam, I got you. This is how I left my guy leaving the shop. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this haircut in the comments, guys. I think I smashed this haircut. If y'all like this haircut, please make sure to smash that like button. Also, if y'all new to my channel, make sure to subscribe one time for your boy. I'm gonna be recording some more stuff, guys, so y'all stay tuned, stay blessed, stay up. Y'all just keep watching, man. We working. Let's grind. Let's keep grinding. Let's keep growing. Let's keep getting it. Let's go, guys. I appreciate y'all, YouTube. Until next time, let's get it.